marvellous. Okay. Well, pip pip, tally ho, Joolz Guides here, in which I wander around London, discovering things for myself, as well as telling you fascinating facts. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you like the videos, and hit that little bell, because that will notify you when I upload a new one. And today we are in Herne Hill. Well, actually, we're starting in Denmark Hill, or the Phoenix Station. That's not the name of the station. This is Denmark Hill Station. It's opened up in 1866. Originally, that was the waiting room, actually, that bit there, and the little bit on the left there, a little sort of left pavilion, that was the station master's house. Kind of cool, the station master. Well, I think lodgings or something he had there. But anyway, they had this big fire in the 1980s or something, and when they reopened it, they've got a kind of pub there. It's actually quite cool. Actually, it's really nice little cafe there and a pub there. Anyway, rather splendid. And it is just opposite this rather excellent building over here. Right. Yes, it's rather foreboding, isn't it? Look at this this amazing building. You probably think that looks a little bit like the Tate Modern Art Gallery, and that's because it's designed by the same bloke, Giles Gilbert Scott, Sir Giles Gilbert Scott. He did Liverpool Cathedral, Battersea Power Station, Tate Modern, and the London telephone boxes, of course. But anyway, this was opened in 1924, and the reason why you've got these two statues of William Booth and Catherine Booth, his wife, is because they founded the Salvation Army, and this is the William Booth College to train cadets for the Salvation Army. It's been since all these years, it's still doing that. They've got a little museum in there as well, but I think it looks very impressive, doesn't it?
It does. It's quite foreboding, but
yeah,
it's funny that you mentioned the telephone boxes. I mean, the windows, the frames, they kind of they're reminiscent even of the boxes themselves, aren't
right,
they?
Actually, yeah, those could be out of one of those telephone boxes, the K2, couldn't they, that I'm always going on about?
Yeah.
Actually, we saw, I think, William Booth, I think we saw them in Abney Park Cemetery in Stoke Newington. I think that's where he's got quite a large tomb right near the entrance. I think that's him. Marvellous. You've been there, haven't you, Simon? The Fox on the Hill.
Yeah.
Wetherspoon's pub now.
Yeah.
I think that became the Fox on the Hill in 1954. But back in the old days, I mean, before that, it was where the hunting lodge was of Prince George of Denmark. And that's really why this area is called Denmark Hill, after Prince George of Denmark, who was the king consort, is that what you say? He was the husband of Queen Anne back at the end of the 18th century, was it 1709-ish, sometime around then. There's even a road around here called Dog Kennel Lane or something, and I think that's a reference to the time when people like Prince George of Denmark used to come and have these hunting meetings with their fox terriers or hounds or whatever they were called. We're here in Ruskin Park. Now, John Ruskin, I think he was around the end of the 19th century, he was a social thinker, philanthropist, famous arts critic, and he used to do watercolours himself. He was a friend of J.M.W. Turner, the romantic painter, and he used to display some of his paintings there in his house, which was on Denmark Hill. All these lovely houses along here have all been destroyed now. It was actually his dad's house, I think, where he used to display lovely paintings by people like Turner, and they'd hold society gatherings there for influential people. Anyway, around the beginning of the 20th century, the locals campaigned and said, we need a park for the public to use. And so they started to knock down houses and stuff and used the area for this public space. Now, look, this is one of the last remaining parts of one of the houses that existed here, which they knocked down. So the houses would have had entrances a bit like that.
Now it's used for other things.
Yeah, I think.
Where would the doorbell be?
I used to quite like these parakeets, but now I find them a bit of a pest. And people who live near these, my friend Toby, he said that they sit in his back garden and they just go all the time. They're driving him mad. But you see them there. They are cute though. But they are right next to, let me scare them. You see this sundial here, Simon, look at this. You see another house that was nearby here was called Dane House. And that's where in 1842, Mendelssohn, the composer, composed his famous spring song, whatever that is, I don't know it. But look, the only part of the house that survived was a sundial. I think they've repositioned it here. I don't think the house was here. It was sort of over there. And it says, here stood the house where Mendelssohn wrote the spring song 1842. 5 points if you can spell Mendelssohn, Simon. Go.
M-E-N-D.
What do you think that is, Simon? Do you reckon it's a lamppost? Or that is a fountain?
Ooh.
Maybe a stink pipe. Maybe it's the base of a stink pipe.
It could be, couldn't it?
Could be.
It could really be the remnants of a stink pipe.
Look at this, Simon, look at this. The Caragi Library opened in 1906. Andrew Carnegie, who was that Scottish millionaire, I think he went to America and made his millions. Do you remember we talked about it? He's got the Carnegie Library up in Walthamstow as well. Looks very similar. And he provided the money, I don't know, £6,000 or something to Lambeth Council or whatever, back in 1906. And that's why you've got, I think that's the Lambeth badge, the Lambeth coat of arms sign or whatever above there. Is it 1900? Oh, I might have my dates wrong. It says 1900 up there. Anyway, you know what's interesting about this library is that it's the first place to allow browsers to sort of go around the shelves and just pick things off and have a look.
Really?
But, yeah, before that, I think they had them a bit like in Argos. You know, they had everything, but you weren't allowed to see any of it. but yeah, then the rest of the country eventually followed their example, and now everyone else just normal to go and pick up books in a library. Well, if the library's open, that is. You know, these days. I mean, this one included. They tried to close it in 1999, but there was local uproar. Excellent. So they kept it open. This is Herne Hill Road, I think that we're on. Herne Hill Road, that's 202. And this is number 204. And so you know what? Let's just come around this side, Simon. You can film me coming back this way. Just don't want them looking in, wondering what we're filming. 204, yeah, do you know who lived there? Where's the blue plaque? Where's the blue plaque, Simon?
I think I know who you're going to say.
Yeah, Roddy McDowell. Yeah. Roddy McDowell. Cornelius.
An orangutan lived here.
Sorry?
An orangutan lived here. Is he not? No,
no,
I'm thinking of
he
someone
plays,
else.
He plays, I think, is it I don't know. Anyway, in Planet of the Apes, Roddy McDowell plays Cornelius. He was born in 1928 and he lived here. And he went to drama school or something and became quite a promising child actor. But then in the war, Second World War, he was evacuated to America. Luckily for him, because he then starred in things like How Green Was Your Valley, Lassie Come Home. He's in the Poseidon Adventure, isn't he?
I think so, that or one of the
he's also in my favourite Columbo episode, where they're in that sort of cable car. He kills someone with an exploding cigar, I think. You know that? Columbo? I don't know why. I always have to talk about Columbo. I'm sorry. Anyway, I love Roddy McDowell. He's great. Hey, from Herne Hill. Can you believe it? Marvellous. Look, Dorchester Court here. This is built in 1936. I think Leslie Kemp was the designer or the architect. Anyway, it's in a splendid position here on the hill. You get a wonderful view down there. He was one of the pioneers of this kind of, I think it was called district heating, where all the flats were heated by one central boiler. So I don't know how convenient that was if you could turn your heating up and down, but actually round the back you can see there's a big boiler house with a chimney coming out of it. And that's kind of, don't know if it's over there. Anyway, it's sort of over the back there. It's a rather nice typical estate of the period, don't you think, Simon? Do you like those?
Yeah.
I like those.
I do, I love it, yeah.
I think it was built shortly after the Dorchester Hotel in Park Lane, so I have a feeling it might have been named after that. But anyway, so it's here on Denmark Hill, which then becomes, I think it turns into Herne Hill, but just next door over here. See, this all used to be amazing houses back in the 19th century. There was all these beautiful old houses. And just next door to there is where Ruskin used to live. You know, we were talking about John Ruskin. His house, like all the others, has been knocked down. I mean, it's a perfectly nice house, this one, but they have got a plaque there just to remind people John Ruskin lived in a house on this site. He was educated here at home in 1823. So I don't know if there was a pandemic. There's a lot of people were educated at home these days, weren't they? You know, because of the pandemic. But he was just educated at home because his parents liked it that way. Anyway, it must have been a majestic sight down this hill back in those days. Because a little bit further along is the Quadrangle. Now this was built around sort of 1920-ish, around that time. And it's rather splendid, isn't it? It was for single women over 35. That was probably regarded as quite old in those days. You had to be a civil servant or a lecturer or something like that, some sort of, I don't know, public servant or something. But the rooms didn't have bathrooms. You weren't allowed bathrooms and you weren't allowed guests in your room. So, I mean, I suppose they were thinking, wait a minute, you're over the hill at 35. There are no men allowed. But if you did want to come as a guest, you could stay in that room there, just the one above the archway, the nice-looking sort of mock Jacobean. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is now. Private property, keep out is what it is now.
Well, the question is it still for single women over 35?
Well, I think in the 1960s they did start having bathrooms in the rooms, in the flats. But then by the 80s, I think it's no longer charity, probably just private residence, I imagine. Don't ask me, I don't know everything. I'm in South London, Simon. You know, this is, do not adjust your sets.
Not your manner, is it?
This ain't my ends, bro. I don't know. And here down, we're just right opposite the Dorchester building there. We've got Danecroft Road, and look, Sax Roma. That was the pen name of Arthur Henry Ward. I don't know why he decided to change his name to Sax Roma, but he was like a journalist, but he also wrote books and things. So he'd write in stories to magazines. You know, they serialised magazines in those days, beginning of the 20th century. But later, the newspaper asked him to do a commission for the mysterious Mr. King down in Limehouse. There was just some mysterious crook or something living down there, and that inspired him to come up with the idea of Fu Manchu. You remember when we were down in Limehouse, in our Limehouse video, Simon, there was that triangular, that sort of pyramid. We were trying to get into the pyramid where Fu Manchu manages to disappear. So Dr. Fu Manchu, so he wrote The Mystery of Fu Manchu, Sax Roma. That was him. Yeah, and he lived here in a rather nice house. How about that? Let's get out of here. Stand outside a skip and talk about how beautiful it is. But no, look, you see these houses here in Casino Avenue. We've got some lovely street signs. Can you see that? It says Casino Avenue there. Because Casino Avenue, Simon, in Italian, casa means house, my house, and casina is a little house, you know, a little house. Back in like 1796, there was a house called Casino House, which was up there, which probably wasn't small. But it was just up here at the top of the avenue there, on the corner of Poplar Avenue. And it stretched all the way down here. And these were the grounds. And then, after that got demolished. Sometime in the 1920s, old Lloyd George, the Prime Minister, he came along and he said, look, we need some houses fit for heroes, you know. And so they built all these beautiful cottages. I think they're rather terrific. All along here, this whole Sunray Estate, I think it's called, all these lovely, cute cottages. I think those are included. I think that all of these, mostly two-storey. Pretty nice, huh? And so we can just walk around. All the roads are called Casino Avenue around here. Notice it's weird, even the ones that go off at different directions. And you can pop down this little cute passageway down towards the end, where you noticed, whilst we're just walking along here, I should probably point out that there is a new Joolz Guides website now, and on that new Joolz Guides website, we do have Joolz Guides merch available, don't we? So if you want a rather tasteful, splendid t-shirt or a tote bag or baseball cap, we're not sporting them today, but do take a look, And we come out down here. This pond, I believe, existed in the time of the casino house up there. So this was like the bottom of the hill. They're down at the end of their gardens. area. And I think this was, this is one of the only parts that survives from those days. It's rather pleasant. Right, we've just walked down here, down Red Post Hill towards North Dulwich Station. There's just something quickly I want to go and look at down here. There's an excellent milepost. Oh no, 4 miles from the Treasury in Whitehall. I think it's 2 miles. 2 miles from the conduit, the standard, Cornhill. Look at this amazing hall here, look. Grafton Hall, it's now the Grafton Dance School. That was built in 1910. Back in 1942, the London County Council opened up one of their British restaurants here during the war. They wanted to encourage people to eat well and also save fuel by not being at home cooking the whole time. So they wanted to they encouraged people to come and eat at these British restaurants, they were called, and they had one here. A typical meal that they would serve here would be roast beef, 2 veg, treacle sponge, bread and butter and coffee. And rationing carried on right up until 1954 and it's finally abolished. Anyway, it's come to my attention that a lot of people watch Joolz guides because they want to see what an area is like when they're considering moving house. And the truth is, I find it quite handy myself because I'm thinking of moving house myself soon. And I'm really beginning to learn about lots of lovely areas of London, which I didn't really know that much about. And I have to say, I rather like Herne Hill. Yeah. It is very nice down here. So I've got to say thank you to Olivia, who sent me some books on the area and helped me to research it. But yeah, it's really pretty. I'm so glad we came. As we're going down Burbage Road here, I think it's named after the famous actor Burbage, friend of Shakespeare, is it? Anyway, look, this is where Scipio Africanus Mussolini lived, the first proper professional sports coach who was paid. You know, people actually sought him out. He's the guy in Chariots of Fire. You know Ian Holm? Yes. Ian Holm plays him in Chariots of Fire. And he worked with people like Harold Abrahams. Over 5 Olympic Games, he managed to secure, 11 medals for his athletes. It's appropriate that he lives there because he's right around the corner from the velodrome, which is right over here. Hey, it's amazing, isn't it? Look, this is one of the oldest velodrome cycling tracks in the world. It was built in 1891. Look at that. Actually, in the First World War, this is where Crystal Palace had to play their football matches. Then later on in the Second World War, they used it as a gun battery. And, you know, gradually it got a bit run down and sort of weeds were growing up through the track and everything. But then they managed to repair it in time for the 1948 Olympics. There were reports in the newspapers about how rubbish it was, but how it was just so low key. The worst organisation of the entire 14th Olympiad cycling events resulted in the deciding 3rd heat of the tandem final being held at 9 o'clock. It was so dark when the 2 tandem pairs lined up for the final that the Italians were invisible against the background of spectators. To put 2 tandems on the track under such conditions was a disgrace. Lovely bridge. They've got a lot of these bridges around this area. And what's interesting about them is I believe some of these, at least with some of the bridges, these columns actually don't serve any structural function. I think they're just there for show. I don't know if that's the case with this bridge, certainly with the next one we come to. Built in 1863, you know, when the railways came. You've got these badges on here, AC. That's Allen's College. I don't know who Allen is. There's Allen's Sports Field around here, and Allen's this, that, the other. And the badges, I think, are something to do with the railway. I think it might be the railway badge. Who knows? On the corner of Rosendale Road and Dalkeith Road are these 4 sort of cottages, sort of semi-detached. They're rather nice. These are ideal homes. In fact, they're so ideal that at the Ideal Home exhibition in 1924, they would fill buses full of people from the exhibition, presumably down at Earl's Court, and they'd bring them all the way up here to come and look at these perfect homes. Aren't they nice?
They are lovely.
Yes. Let's go this way. Look at these Peabody Cottages here. Peabody, he was a fellow, he was a rich American banker, I think. He came to London in 1837. He was shocked by the amount of poverty and the living conditions. So yeah, he started up the Peabody estates, and people, you've probably seen them around. Anyway, these are Peabody, these ones were built in, I think, 1901. Yeah, you got screened in order to live in them. They'd check that you were a person of good character, the state of your marriage, that you had good moral background, and you had to be born within 10 miles of Charing Cross, apparently. So if for London, poor Londoners born within 10 miles of Charing Cross. And they'd actually send someone around to come and check up on you once a year to check that you were still behaving yourself and you still led a moral life. And if indeed you were, then they'd give you a week's free rent, which is quite handy. So he was rather appreciated, this fella Peabody, and he was given the freedom of the City of London, which means that he could drive sheep over London Bridge. But look, it's got a perfectly nice, all handy shops. You've got your nice greengrocer, I like it around here. Lovely.
You got your telephone box.
Oh yeah, K7 or whatever you call it.
You got your melons.
I bet. A Victoria
yes.
post box.
The litter bin. Calf.
You've also got the old dairy there. It's sort of like a...
So not that long ago, you'd have all the milk floats.
Yeah, the horses, they
collecting all the milk bottles and things.
Yeah, around the back they'd have the space for the horses to draw the express dairies, that was. From about 1900-ish up to 1980s that was in operation. God knows what it is now. Stand still.
You look very dapper.
Thank you. Yeah, we're just filming about the area. Oh, hello. Oh, hey. Oh, hey.
One sec. I'm going to...
Bless
Oh, look,
them.
they wrap me around. They're going to run off. I'll be carried off.
Oh, bless you.
This is Brockwell Hall, which was originally built around 1811. And then there was an MP around like 1891 or something called Thomas Lynn Bristow, and he managed to, I think he was quite instrumental in buying up all the property around here, managing to turn this into a public park. And I think they finally managed to secure this building as well. But anyway, the sad thing is on the day of the opening, poor old Thomas Lynn Bristow, who had done all this hard work to secure it, sadly, he died of a heart attack on the steps of the building. I believe there's a bust inside, I understand, but I can't go and see it right now. Really wonderful views from up here.
I'm wondering if anybody has written a book on the finest public lavatories in England. This would be one of them.
This is a beautiful location, yeah. And it actually is a functioning public toilet, which is quite rare in London, isn't it? This is a quiet zone, okay, Simon? So just be quiet. Let us, for heaven's sake, talk about the Lido down there.
Oh.
Built in 1937. Now, you know what's funny about this? You know what strikes me about being here in Brockwell Hill? You get these lovely views of that tower block. But, you know, you could be on Parliament Hill. It really feels like you're standing at the top of Parliament Hill in North London, looking down at the Lido down there that they've got in Gospel Oak, and London behind. It's almost exactly the same. It's designed by the same guy. I think he did other Lidos in London. Presumably he did that one. But anyway, yeah, in the 1930s, they were worried about high incidence of rickets and tuberculosis and stuff. So they started prescribing lots of cod liver oil for people and telling them to spend more time in the sunlight. And so they've got these lovely open-air swimming pools. They're still popular today. I mean, obviously they tried to close it down, of course, in the 90s, I think. But yeah, then it managed to stay open, some charity or something. They're great for when it's really warm, for the family days out and stuff. Look, I know I keep going on about stink pipes, but you know, the reason why you get these stink pipes, they're quite convenient. These, you know what, I think that thing, look at the size of the bottom there. The same base, yeah, you're right, of the one that we saw up in Ruskin Park. And these are dotted along this route because this is where the River Effra runs underneath the ground. Effra, they say that it was named after a local area called Heathrow, and that became corrupted. Not Heathrow Airport, but there's a little bit around here. Effra, Effra. But anyway, yeah, and then when they turned them into sewers, they needed these stink pipes to stop the sewers exploding. And yeah, and it was along this river, actually, that Queen Elizabeth I sailed up on her way to Brixton. Do you remember in the Brixton video, up on Brixton Hill, Sir Walter Raleigh used to live there, and when she was on a booty call, she'd sail up the river to Sir Walter Raleigh. Oh, Sir Walter, really. Look, as we were saying, the hidden River Effra is beneath your feet. It says right there. I wasn't making it up, see? You see here, this housing here, right, and the scaffolding behind, it's a pity actually, because I want to show you that building around there, but it's all covered in scaffolding. That used to be the cinema. We can show it, I'll show it from the front. But then this big, it's just a tiny little building really, quite skinny, built in sort of 1911 or so, and this is where the auditorium was, so you get this big auditorium out the back. But anyway, since it closed down, they don't need it anymore, and they turned it into flats. And then we are emerging here, near Herne Hill station, and it's just such a lovely little country feel. You wouldn't know that we're in zone 2 here, would you? Honestly, I should work for an estate agent. It's lovely here in Herne Hill station with that little tower there, which originally, I believe, was kind of like a water tower for when they had steam engines coming down here. Anyway, I rather wanted to show you this little area here. I do like a recessed square post box in the wall. Look, VR, Victoria Regina. That's nice, that, isn't it? Queen Victoria. Lots of points to be had along here. See you later, mate.
It feels quaint. I think that's the word, quaint.
Yes, it's very quaint, isn't it? This place here, it's called The River. I don't know what they sell, but do I get points for spotting the stink pipe, the picture of a stink pipe? It's
Do
got
you
to be,
think
hasn't
when
it?
they painted that, they knew it was a stink pipe?
Well, I've no idea. I like to think that they did. It looks like one, doesn't it? It must be one. Oh, hello.
How are you?
I am all right. What's your name?
Danny.
Danny, nice to meet you, Danny. So, how long has this shop been here? I mean, it's quite an odd.
Well, we've been open since April this year, so we're pretty new. We're a brand new family business. On this side, I look after all the plants, and I also make the pots and homeware on the shelf over here. And on the other side, my mum and brother sell vintage clothes and homeware.
This is a rather nice line in Christmas jumpers. Is this just seasonal, is it?
Yeah.
Well, I've already got my eye on this one here. This is mine. No one else is having it. It's a kind of cross between Dennis the Menace.
It's a good find.
When you hold it, it's a cross between Dennis the Menace and Freddy Krueger. I'm getting that. Yeah, that's for me.
There you go.
Nice. Good value as well, that.
Yeah.
Happy with that. It's, by the way, it smells amazing in here. What is it I'm smelling? I want my house to smell like this.
So a lot of the stuff that we source in here, they're all made locally. So these are all candles that are made by the Flora Lab. So they're hand poured in East Dulwich, which is just around the corner from Herne Hill.
So these are made by you?
Yeah, so I make all the pots and all the pieces of homeware. So they're all set in moulds using cement and sand, recycled byproducts from iron making, natural hydraulic lime, and different pigments blended in with the mixes to create the different colours and designs.
So what did this shop used to be?
Way back when it was a butcher's, and it has all the old butcher's sign outside, which is quite nice. I mean, it's changed quite a lot. There was quite a huge flood that happened here about 15-20 years ago, which affected a lot of the businesses quite a lot. Most businesses had to close for about 1 to 2 years. People have boats literally on the street here.
It's like Venice, like Venice of the Venice of the South.
Yeah, it really damaged quite a lot of businesses around here.
Thanks very much. Yes, look, you see where Sainsburys is over there. They've got, you see above, it says LCC Fire Brigade Station, Herne Hill, London County Council. That was from 1905. And next door, where this postman's office, it says there, that was just a field. I think that's where they kept the horses and stuff. Upstairs, above the fire brigade office, they had like 5 men from the fire brigade and 1 coachman. I think they lived up there. I think they just stayed there. But that eventually closed, and then they built this post office. This is from about 1917 or so. But I think that's probably also closed, has it now? That's London South Dance Studios. Yeah. So yeah, it's amazing how it's all changed around here. You can still see the remnants of the old days. Lovely. I like the fact that they've kept that. I like it.
What would have been in the little, what's it, the enclave at the...
Oh, right, yeah, I've often wondered that. A lot of buildings have that, don't they? I mean, they look like they're ready for a statue.
Yeah.
They have a few of those around St Paul's Cathedral as well, don't they? I don't know, I must ask an architect. Actually, I've got an architect friend who watches Joolz Guides. Rebecca, maybe you know, maybe you can tell me. What are they used for? It's just these shops around here, this little parade of shops was all built in 1895. It's because of the up-and-coming era, more and more people were living here. But you know what's interesting about that peachy goat over there? I think, if I'm correct, that's where Michael Crawford was brought up.
Oh,
I think he might have even been born there. And yeah, when Michael Crawford, you know...
well, that's his hat, look. Do you notice it?
Yeah, Frank Spencer.
Yes, yeah.
What, do you reckon that's the reason that's there? No, surely not. It does look like a little beret.
I think it is, yes.
Like some mothers do have a beret. That would be a really cool little kind of reference. Yeah. If that's intentional.
I think so.
Yeah. Everyone used to imitate him, didn't he, back in the day? He was the easiest person to imitate, Frank Spencer. From some others who have him, other people will know him from Phantom of the Opera, of course, Michael Crawford. Anyway, there's been a pub there where the Half Moon is since the 17th century, although this particular one was built in 1896, it says at the top. You can see some famous people have played there, Eric Clapton, U2, Van Morrison. But I think a pint at the Commercial, don't you think, Simon?
Yeah, let's go there.
Cheers, Simon. Cheers. Cheers, everybody. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you like the videos. Head over to my website as well. You can buy some exciting Joolz Guides merchandise there. And we'll see you next time.